Hey guys, what's going on, Scats? Today I got a weird video. This is sort of my... This video is more for me than it is for you guys, but I figured I'd share it with you anyway. So this is, that joke of, hey, tier lists are useless until we have tuning. Well, this is more of a how much have things improved, how have things changed, take on all of the, various classes and specs in World of Warcraft Dragonflight. So first off, huge disclaimer, this is based on information as of 9/9/2022. I have played each class and spec for a pretty decent amount of time, couple hours each, just to get a general feel for them, to make sure that either they don't just feel completely broken, or there's so many serious bugs that I really can't evaluate them. There is one spec like that. But also so that so that I also understand that I kind of have an understanding of how they're supposed to work, and if they're going to be, fun, awesome, if they're still just as good as they were before, if they need a little bit of work, but they're getting there, or straight up, oof, bad, something needs to change, big changes, please, please, please. So again, with that disclaimer, this is all alpha and beta, feedback, so, just kind of keep that in mind as we go through here. So we're just going to start, oh, excuse me. We're going to start right here at the very start. We're going to go with Blood Death Knight. Blood Death Knight, honestly, doesn't feel much different, to me at least, than it currently does on live. Blood Decay is still strong. It still has the same general play, general focus. And honestly, it didn't feel any different to me. Now, I haven't played it extensively in Season 4 with the 4-piece bonus, but I did play it beforehand, the base general, everything of the class, and, it still feels good, still feels strong, and it's definitely going to be a contender, but I think it hasn't really reached the ranks of awesome or, wow, this is absolutely a banger, you've got to play it. So I'm just going to put it in still good for now. Now, Frost Death Knight, on the other hand, yeah, that feels pretty awesome right now. The various talent choices that you have in Frost Death Knight, just being able to go and play either two-handed or dual wield. Granted, dual wield's most likely going to come out better just because extra Runeforge. It's still really great, still really fun, and it's definitely something you should definitely look into playing if you have enjoyed Frost Death Knight in the past. The various talent combos that we do now get are really sweet, and I'm a huge fan of that. Unholy Death Knight, though, I'm going to throw that in getting there, because it's getting a little bit better. It does need a little bit more tweaking. A couple of the talent choices feel incredibly awkward there, for me at least. And I honestly don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with it in terms of, what the build's actually supposed to accomplish. Some things feel a little bit confused yet. The Death Knight tree in general is still very good. It's just that Unholy feels like it just needs a little bit more refining, and then it'll be great. On to DH. Now, DH is the newest class to be added as far as talent trees go, currently in the beta. And one thing I'll say is that Havoc actually feels pretty awesome. In general, Havoc feels pretty cool because you now have access to sigils, which gives you a ton of utility, which before you just didn't have. The sigils are good. The couple different talent builds are okay. I really don't like the fact that momentum still exists. I think it's a terrible setup. I hate it. Mainly because there's always some reason that you shouldn't be playing momentum in a raid setting. But, in general, it's still very fun. Still very fast-paced. And definitely something to look forward to moving into Dragonflight. Now, jumping into Vengeance DH, quite honestly, this is one of the most fun specs I've played in a while, and I think it is because we have access to so many different tools and so many different combos that we just did not have before. Vengeance feels pretty strong. There's a couple of awkward spots in the tree to be ironed out yet, but it honestly just felt incredibly fun. I haven't played DH much at all in the past expansion, but just in general, it just felt like an absolute blast to play. It was refreshing, it was different, the talent trees, again, need a little bit of work. It's hella fun. Alright, moving on to Druid. Balanced Druid, you're going into Oof. We haven't seen the new talents just yet. They did release a blue post this week We're getting those changes next week. Once we see more of those, that might change again. This is on the 9th of September, so we have not yet seen the new talents come in just yet. But from what it sounds like, it's going to be really good. Feral Druid. I'm going to put that right in still good. It definitely has a little bit more room for improvement. The talent combos are definitely better, and the goopy talent builds I've seen where it's like the entirety of the left-hand side of the tree, for instance, that's really cool. It is unique, and it's definitely something I can see, myself picking up as an alt because I do love my Druid. Whether or not I'll go much further than that is unknown. But it's a lot of fun. So definitely going to throw it right there and still good. It's still in progress, but it's definitely not bad by any means now. Bear Druid. Bear Druid's going to go... Oh, wow, that's an interesting graphical glitch I got there. That's going to go ahead and go into still good as well. Bear Druid has been pretty much the same the entire beta. We haven't actually seen a new bit of anything as far as talents go for this yet. We're still waiting on some updates to the tree, some pathing, stuff like that. But Bear Druid in general, honestly, just still feels completely fine. It doesn't do anything in an outstanding fashion, but it's still good. So we're going to stick with it. Now, Resto Druid is awesome. I love the new tree for Resto. I played it a little bit this week. Leveled the character for about 2 to 3 levels or so in some dungeons. Didn't get to play with the 70 talents because we don't have those templates yet. I'll be doing another video once we have those templates out closer to launch to tell you where I think they are. And again, that will also just be for fun. But Resto Druid definitely feeling a lot better after the new changes they put in this week. Definitely a contender for one of the top healers for sure. Unless they tune it terribly, it's going to be great. So much good utility, the pathing's fun, and some, definitely new and fun talent setups to play with. Evoker. Oh, this is hard. This is devastation. This is a DPS spec for Evoker. I'm not really sure where to place it right now. Now, it is really fun. It could even be awesome, but I'm gonna put it at getting there. And here's my rationale for why. Right now, Evoker is tuned to be pretty much only burst damage. It's really strange. The damage that you get from your primary spender in that, which is Azure Claws, which is like a on-the-move instant cast, like 3-target cleave thing, is next to nothing. Outside of certain talents with Evoker, you really don't feel like you're doing much damage at all. And that's not really all that fun. I actually struggled to keep myself alive on the character, even with kiting, just trying to kill mobs that weren't even elites in some of the areas in the 3rd zone, which is not feedback that I expected to be giving. And a lot of other people had that issue too. It was really surprising. So, I mean, that definitely is a tuning issue. In general, the class is really fun, but I think there's a couple of problematic nodes on the talent tree, and I think it definitely needs another round, another pass after we've seen the updates to all the other classes and specs. Just kind of bring it in line, because it feels a little bland, and honestly, it feels like it's missing something. I'm not sure what it is. They did just give it Bloodlust, but that's not what they were missing. So I'm going to put Devastation Evoker here in getting there. Now, Preservation Evoker. This I'm going to put in still good. It is still good from the start of Alpha. The 25-yard range, again, is just still very, very strange. It's not something we can't get used to, I'm sure, but it is super awkward in dungeons. And once we see some raid testing, we'll know more. But I'm very hesitant to put it any higher than still good because of the questions that I've had about its viability there. Now, I'm not a main healer. I have a friend who is. He wants me to do a ton of testing on it, so I've been trying to show him some, Discord streams and that of me playing it. And he's been coaching me on what he thinks I should be doing, and it's been working out. So, we'll have to see how far that goes. But the changes they made to the tuning for this, and a few of the swaps they made around the talent tree and that, definitely look really good for preservation, and I hope to play some more of it here after we see another pass on, tuning here later on, and people get more familiar with the, playing around that 25 yards thing, because that is definitely something that both, the group itself and the player have to get used to, because, you can't just be running off into Timbuktu whenever you need a heal, and they can't get you. Looking at you, Marksman Hunters, looking at you. Speaking of hunters, Beast Mastery Hunter. So Beast Mastery Hunter, whenever the talent trees first really came out, Beastmaster was kind of like the gold standard. And I can honestly say it is still one of the most fun specs. You can have so many pets in the zoo build, it is crazy. You can get a ton of pets. Wild Call is a really cool ability. Having Stampede next to, I think it's Death Chakram, I believe is the Necrolord ability, is a little weird. Stampede doesn't really do all that much. Again, that's probably just a tuning thing. But in general, Beast Mastery just feels really solid. There's definitely like 2 or 3 competing builds in the tree too, which is great, because the more variety we can have in a talent tree, the better. The only downside to Hunter at this point is that they're kind of lacking some utility to a degree, but they did just give them their like actual defenses, which is sweet. So it's definitely, you know, one of the contenders for one of the more fun specs, you know, coming into Dragonflight. Survival, I'm going to say, is getting there. I really didn't have much time to play it this week. I only got about 2 hours in of messing around with survival, and the tree's still kind of awkward. There's still a couple 3-point talents on there as of, you know, recording today, and they felt really out of place, really strange. Hopefully we get another pass on the survival tree here soon. But, you know, it's getting there. It's definitely improved from what it was at the start of Alpha up to where we are at this point. Marksman Hunter is... I'm not sure if I want to put it in still good or getting there. It's kind of like a... It's kind of in an awkward spot. I'm going to put it at getting there. It definitely feels better this week. They've moved a couple of talent points around. They have shifted things in the general tree. But without actually being able to see what the raid utility does, it's going to be very awkward, really, to kind of figure out where I want to even put that. There are definitely a few bugs that are popping up that are a little iffy, but, you know, in general, it's doing pretty well. You know, let's move it up to still good, because it was fine before. It's still okay. It just needs another pass. And now we get to mages. Unfortunately, at this point, mages feel pretty terrible. We're still waiting on their new class trees, or new class tree, rather, and then there's going to be a multitude of changes across all 3. So we're just going to put Mage in general at oof. I tried leveling Mage a little bit on beta, and it felt really strange to not go for any of the capstones in the actual class tree. Like, that feels extremely strange. And just in general, it just felt really awkward in the class trees as well. Again, because there's some point nodes there that maybe don't need to be as many points as they are. And then, of course, some positioning things on those trees. Again, Arcane losing Arcane power and getting that new ability. It's good. It's definitely not bad, but it's definitely something that's going to take getting used to. And Arcane's the main spec I played when I play Mage. Except whenever Fire's broken in Azeroth and you get to do, you know, almost 1,000,000 damage on Hivemind. Frost in general feels super weak, but that's just because there's just too many points at the bottom of the tree. And Fire is just really hard to test without any kind of gear. Hopefully the level 70 pre-mades will have a little bit of gear on them so we can play with them a bit more. So we'll have to see how that goes there. On to Monk. So Monk, in general, has been pretty sweet. Going right into the most fun tier is actually Mistweaver, the first healer up here. Mistweaver feels incredibly fun to play. There's still a couple bugs with a few of its abilities, but in general, it's super fun to play. It definitely feels a lot better to have the various options across the class tree with Mistweaver, just to give you some added utility, some extra defensives, and then, of course, you know, just more healing in general. The actual spec tree is just bonkers. There are so many good things in there. Really enjoyed healing on Mistweaver this week. Brewmaster is going to go into Awesome. In general, it's sweet. It's really good. It feels pretty fun to play. There's a couple awkward talents here and there. And unfortunately, with the way that I would typically play Brewmaster, I actually need to get it to 70 before I can really play it with the proper talents. So it's not sitting in most fun just because I don't have an unlimited amount of time each week to level, you know, 30 34, 30, 36 classes now? Oh god. Well, it's 13 classes, and, you know, then get them all set up. Somewhere around 120-ish hours, about 10 hours to get those levels, so just a little too much time. But in general, it did feel really good. The talents are pretty solid, and it definitely has the potential to move from awesome up to most fun, just because it is actually pretty awesome. Windwalker, on the other hand, is going right into the oof tier, and it's not because the tree is bad. I want to make that very clear. It's because there's still a lot of not yet implemented in it. There's a bunch of things in that talent tree that are not functioning. There's a bunch of procs that aren't working. So once they clear those up, which I really hope they do, because I know Monk has been plagued with bugs in retail for a long time. Once they do that, and they get that stuff working the way it's supposed to, or at least the way we think it's supposed to, Monk should be really awesome, because Monk in general is just a really fun spec to play, Windwalker in particular. So I hope to be able, in the next video, to not have anything in oof tier, because that's what we want. Moving on to Paladin. Holy Paladin's going and getting there. We've only had one pass on this. The talents are kind of rough. But in general, it's not bad. It just, again, it needs a little bit more love. Protection Paladin is going to be sitting in still good. There's still some very awkward things in the Paladin tree. There's also, I think, one of the Shield of the Righteous talents was not working whenever I did it. Like, it did not proc any defensiveness whatsoever. It was very strange. And also, my Adventure Shield hit nothing multiple times. It was very weird. Very odd bug. Hopefully that was just the character that got bugged somehow. But, you know, functionally and playability-wise, you know, it feels pretty good to play. So we're just going to say still good for now. Retribution Paladin, I think it's definitely going to go in the getting there tier, because I honestly do not have a ton of experience playing Ret Paladin, definitely not at a high enough level to really evaluate it, and I haven't had a chance to talk to my buddy Tolkien that has basically lived and breathed Ret Paladin since he started playing the game. Now, that being said, once I have a chance to talk with him a little bit more, get some more feedback on it, and, you know, kind of run the gamut of testing through it, it's definitely not going to be in the getting there tier, I hope, but the issues I had with it were mostly, like, really couldn't find a talent build that felt fluid. That may be an issue with the way the spec tree actually flows, or it might just be that I'm taking something that I really don't need until I get another talent later, that I'm just so used to taking that it's just kind of a comfort pick type thing. You know, we'll have to see, though. Priest. So, Discipline. Honestly, I don't even know where to put Discipline. I played Discipline for like 2 hours, and like it felt like I was doing well, but details broke, so I have no idea. I'm just gonna leave Discipline out for right now. Holy, on the other hand, definitely felt still good. That was one of those specs that just, it felt like it worked. I didn't have any issues healing with it. You know, I didn't feel like I had any kind of holes in the toolkit. So it just worked out, you know, pretty well. Shadow, however, straight up to most fun. I don't know if you guys have seen the videos where people are spawning like 20, 30 ghosts in their you know, their spender window, but whew, it is some good stuff. It is really, really good stuff. Shadow in general has some incredible things. You don't have to take Void Form anymore. You can just not play it if you don't like it. One of my guildies is absolutely just, she actually just decided, you know what? Nope, not playing Warlock anymore. She's going to play Shadow Priest instead. That's how excited she is. They got some changes this week where they talked about, I believe it's the next build, they're going to have Shadow Orbs back in some fashion. We don't know what that's going to do as of yet. But just in general, they're listening to the community on it. It feels fun to play. I'm not even a Shadow Priest main, never was, but I thought it was fun, and that says a lot, because I've honestly always found Priest to be pretty boring in general. So for me to go and say most fun tier, it's really good. Discipline, since I really can't evaluate it, I'm just going to put it in getting there. I know it's been worked on, but again, I don't know enough about it to put it anywhere else. I'm just going to say that it's getting there. I know it had some issues before, a couple of bugs. So we'll just put it there for now, and, you know, we'll look back at that later on. Alright, moving on to Rogue. The Roguey Rogue, one of my favorite classes. So, a couple issues with the talent tree. They have changed it this week, the actual, like, class tree. And the pathing got really, really strange. I think at this point I can safely say that Outlaw is just going to sit in Awesome. I can't put it in Most Fun because it is pretty bland, and it's a little stale at this point. We haven't been able to test the new Ambush talents, which I really wish we could, because I want to play that build where Outlaw has Shadow Dance, which sounds really, really cool, but I can't. Because, you know, like 6 or 7 weeks in here, still don't have that enabled. So, hopefully they get on that, because I really want to play with it. Then we've got Assassination here. Assassination, it's still good. It's honestly a pretty fun spec to play, but it needs a little bit of help here and there. The talent tree itself flows pretty well, but it's still very separated in the spec tree itself. So I think if they get just a little bit more bleeding into, giving us a little bit more branching, rather than just 100%, you're going this one build is kind of how it feels. That'll definitely feel a lot better, and hopefully they head that direction. Subtlety, though, that's going in the oof pile. Subtlety is just... Subtlety's a mess right now, and I think the main issue is that with every class getting or every spec of Rogue, rather, getting access to Shadow Dance, it kind of hurts the identity of Subtlety. It doesn't feel as unique. Now, I don't necessarily think that they need to drop Shadow Dance as a possible talent from the actual class tree. I just think they need to absolutely either hard lean into that, where it almost feels forced, or they need to, really push the idea that your finishers are going to be all your damage. Which typically that is how it runs in Subtlety anyway, but I think they might need to just really push the envelope with Sub, because Sub has historically been, the very high end of the skill cap when it comes to playing Rogue correctly, and it's always been pretty tough to play well in a competitive scene. So hopefully, they can reward players, for playing the harder of the 3 specs, hopefully. Moving on to Shaman. Elemental Shaman, going right into Awesome. Elemental's got a bunch of really fun builds. It's flashy. It has a bunch, like I said, a bunch of different builds you can play at the bottom of the tree. The Shaman in general is just really good, continuing that trend. Enhance right up there. Enhance definitely isn't one of the most fun specs, but it is definitely awesome. It feels fluid. It feels fun. Nothing I can complain about in that tree, honestly. They've kind of addressed every issue and every concern that the community has had at this point. I think the Shaman trees are done. Like, I don't think we're going to see many changes, if any, between now and launch. Restoration Shaman, however, that's going right up into the most fun tier. Resto Shaman is an absolute blast to play. Just the talent combos we've never been able to have before. Having Acid Rain to get a little bit of damage in Mythic Plus while also healing. That's really awesome. The talents in general are just really, really good. I have nothing bad to say about Resto Shaman. It's going to be quite possibly one of the most popular picks in the expansion for sure. It's really, really good. Moving over to Warlock. We're going to start with Destro. Destro is going into the awesome tier. I'm not going to put it in most fun just because the playstyle hasn't changed a whole lot. There isn't much of a change, it looks like, with the talent builds we'll probably be playing. And I'm hesitant to put it any higher than awesome because I'm pretty sure they're going to nerf it into the ground. Anytime Warlock is super good at the start, they nerf it into the ground. So I think it's just going to sit here. Like I said, it is fun to play, but I don't think it's more fun than Shadow Priest or BM Hunter, to be completely honest. So it's definitely going to sit right here in this awesome tier. It's definitely going to be solid regardless of what they do to it. But it just has a lot of really fun talents to play with. Affliction Warlock. I'm going to put this at still good. And this is totally just an opinion thing here, but I really would prefer a shift back from Malefic Rapture. I know we're not going to get that this late in development. Hopefully that's something we can look at for, say, the expansion after Dragonflight. I really enjoyed the spending my soul shards on stacking UAs. I understand Malefic Rapture is functionally better. It does work better. But it just doesn't feel as fun to not really see an animation go from your character to hit something. I don't know, maybe they could add, some kind of like a zap something, little bolts of shadow, like a contagion class, something. Like, it needs a different visual. It looks really boring. And that's been my biggest complaint with Affliction for a long time. The spec's solid, it plays well. The changes they made to it recently are pretty good. Dark Glare is still useless, from what I understand, which is super sad, but hey, we get to keep Soul Rot with it, so I'm okay with that. Demonology, however, yeah, that is definitely most fun tier. Demonology is an absolute blast to play. So many demons, so many extra demons. Get a Pit Lord. Nether Portal actually does something. Excuse me. Just in general, Demonology feels great. The new talents with the Felguard and the Axe Throw, the Hold This for Me, I think is what it was called originally. They changed it to Guillotine. That's just a cool ability. There's so many neat abilities in the Demo tree. Like, Demonology's really solid, and I'm really glad that it's, hopefully, tentatively, crossing my fingers, that it's going to stay good, because it's one of those classes and specs that anytime Demonology Warlock is good at the gate, they have over-nerfed it, like in BFA. They nerfed Demonology by, I think it was pet damage by like 40 to 60% right before launch, like a week before launch. And I almost didn't play my Warlock. It would be absolutely brutal if they did us dirty like that again. So Blizzard, if you're watching this, which I really hope you aren't, because my opinions are terrible, don't over nerf things, please. Let it be good. And finally, we're on to Warrior, the class that I've mained for this tier. I'm going to be super biased here. Arms Warrior is going into the Getting There tier, and this is purely because Overpower is still super boring. Arms still feels very slow but deliberate. It's not necessarily bad, but I don't think it's really all that fun either. I'm not sure what they can do to spice Arms up. I do enjoy, like a good, clean play style. But, I don't know, Arms has always just kind of felt clunky. Fury, that's going into still good. The biggest complaint with Fury is that they still have single-minded Fury in the tree, and if they're not going to go and make it even remotely competitive, with Titan's Grip, well, there's just no point in having that talent there. I understand that they want, a quote-unquote easier build for people to play, but to be fair, whenever you play single-minded Fury with the current build that you would be playing it typically, it's actually faster than playing Titan's Grip, so I don't know what they're trying to accomplish there. They kind of just, they took like one step forward and jumped back 10 with terms of simplicity. Like, you can get Carpal Tunnel playing Fury Warrior, no problem, because it's so spammy, and taking all the talents for single-minded Fury, it gets even worse. So, I don't know what they were trying to accomplish with that, but it doesn't really do anything. That being said, the changes this week they made to the tree, honestly, very good. In general, the class tree is now very solid. I like Bitter Immunity closer to the top. The Shockwave thing is still very weird. I don't know why we don't have Shockwave further up. I think that could be a choice node with, what is that there? Oh yeah, Intimidating Shout that people don't want to play because it's fear, and fears are very dangerous. I don't know, Blizzard, maybe make it a choice node. Might be a good idea. Just thinking. And lastly, Prot Warrior, if they do not nerf it, is going to be in the most fun tier. Protection Warrior feels really, really fun to play. It is quite possibly the most fun tank, completely beating out Vengeance Demon Hunter, purely because of Shield Charge. Shield Charge is sweet. Just in general, Protection Warrior feels super fun to play. It actually feels like it has a little bit of power behind it. You feel very sturdy. There have been a couple of game-breaking bugs with it. This is the spec I was talking about where I could almost not evaluate it because of bugs. Besides Windwalker, of course. But at one point, Protection had this wonderful bug where whenever you took a couple of talents together, whenever you hit Revenge, you would just infinitely deal damage to everything in front of you, and your Revenge would just spam until the mob died. It was very strange. I don't know how that interaction happened. It was very funny. But unfortunately that did kind of, screw us out of testing for a good bit. So, we'll have to see, what's up with that. But, in general, super, super fun. Had an absolute blast testing out all of these in the beta so far. I hope you enjoyed this video here. Again, this is just my personal take on these. You can agree with them, you can disagree with them, you can say they're ridiculous, whatever. Just my opinion, just kind of a piece for me to look back on and go, wow, I was dead wrong, what a moron. But we'll have to see how that goes. So anyway, guys, thank you for stopping in. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, downvote it. Let me know in the comments why. And be very, very excruciatingly specific. I really enjoy that. Check me out over on Twitter at Gatsu Gaming. I also have a Patreon, which is kind of on hiatus at the moment. They actually had a data breach. So if you are on Patreon, just double check that, your passwords and all that aren't shared across a bunch of stuff, because we don't know what they actually got access to. But other than that, guys, I will catch you in the next video, which will hopefully be some raid testing. See you next time. Bye-bye.